Welcome to another edition of the Tyranny Spotlight here on the No State Project. I'm Mark Stevens, and you know, Cheril Hardy has gotten a lot of attention on the show lately because of the monstrous things that she's done. And so she's in the Tyranny Spotlight for putting a peaceful man in jail and lying in a judicial proceeding to justify a psychological exam. Now, real quick, some may say you can't judge this woman as a monster for one incident. And I disagree with that because it depends on what the incident is. If it's as bad as this, yeah, I think we can. I think I'm justified in doing that. Bottom line, she is a criminal. She is a criminal, and we'll go through that. Now, I was able to find a lot more information about Cheril Hardy than the previous one in the Tyranny Spotlight, the monstrous Stephen Myrie. I guess because he's a prosecutor, there's a lot less information. But Cheril Hardy is an elected judge. And because they're up for election, elected officials, they tend to have more information available online. And so I was really lucky that some lawyer was gushing about her in a Tarrant County Bar Association, I guess his name is Perry Cockerell. I was able to find this on a search. I'm glad I did because now I know a bit more about her. She's been on the bench since 1996. It was her only contested election in 1996. Since then, it has been uncontested, including the one this year, 2018. So we missed a deadline, so this monster will be a judge again. Hopefully, we can get some media attention on what she has done because she is up for election. And maybe she'll actually get off that bench and take off that stupid black robe and answer some questions, at least publicly, not necessarily from me, but from another reporter, a local reporter, regarding what she did to Bao. So I was able to find out she was born in Weslaco, Texas in about 1950. Her dad is Malvin Stevenson, who was the mayor and a school board president. And it looks like her father's uncle, her great-uncle, was a congressman, George Mahan. And so she's been steeped in, her family's steeped in statism and being government employees. I did already have the information that she had gone to Southern Methodist University, and she graduated that law school in 1983. However, and I have this in the article at markstevens.net, I can't find any mention of her. There is no one named Cheril with that spelling. And while she was married in a Hardy at the time, because, of course, her maiden name is Stevenson, her full name given name at birth is Cheril Ruth Stevenson. But there were no pictures that I could find. There was nothing in there whatsoever. There were a few Cherils, and there was one I thought it might have been her, looked just like her, as what I imagine her as a young woman. But it turns out it's probably not. But yeah, Southern Methodist University, 1983. Looks like she got into family law, and she was doing probate work. So I have some screen caps in the article, and I'll have it up here, where it shows that she was definitely involved as a lawyer with probate work. So that's a little about her background. Why she's in the Tyranny Spotlight is pretty clear-cut. All Bao was doing, and he was forced to appear and participate in proceedings in front of her. So that's a tip right there that you're dealing with a crook. She's forcing people to participate. All he was doing was trying to defend himself against the charges from the prosecution that he was violating the sacred writ or the laws of the government of the state of Texas. But what prompted the incarceration was when he asked if jurisdiction was an element of the charge, which is, yeah, she could have just said yes, which the normal people would say. Normal adults would have just said yes. And the reason why it's important to answer questions, why they're obligated to do that by fairness and due process, is you need to be informed of what's going on so you can defend yourself. It's not a matter of getting a lawyer to explain to you. They have an obligation to inform you. And that's all he was taking advantage of, was having him do that. So instead of responding like a normal person, a normal, well-balanced, psychologically healthy adult, in which she is not, what she did was she forcibly incarcerated him and then lied in a judicial proceeding to justify a psychological evaluation. Those are some pretty hardcore felonies right there. That Bao is not, look, Bao is not accused of any violence, no kind of destructive behavior. He's not accused of any kind of fraud, and he is certainly not accused of being a threat to himself or others. There is absolutely no evidence on the record that he is not a well-balanced, healthy, psychologically fit adult. And anybody who disagrees that and thinks that asking a question is grounds for psychological evaluation, you need the psychological evaluation. And if anyone in this situation definitely does deserve, and justifies a psychological evaluation on them, it is Cheril Hardy. Because without any attempt whatsoever to hold the prosecution to the burden of proof, she just assumed it for them. Not only that, she goes a step further in her abuse and dishonesty, and she holds that the prosecutor's claim that the laws apply to Bao just because he's physically in Texas holds it as irrefutably true and immune from challenge. Her bias is so bad in favor of the prosecution, she'll conduct a rigged game, a rigged proceeding. If you cannot defend against the prosecution's foundational claim, guess what? You're not having a fair trial. That's a rigged game. Cheril, with no evidence in jurisdiction, no evidence even suggesting Bao was psychologically unsound, imprisoned him just for challenging the prosecutor's claims. She is the criminal. She is the one that has demonstrated she has psychological issues such as antisocial personality. She has a callous disregard for others. She doesn't tolerate challenge as well and has no problem falsely imprisoning peaceful people and then lying to cover up or to justify a psychological evaluation. But this should come as no surprise to anybody who understands that the position of a judge and the type of people who seek out a position of absolute irresponsible power over others. Those who want to dominate other people with no responsibility whatsoever tend not to be very good people. And that includes the monster Cheril Hardy. So to summarize, the only reason why she's in here is because of this incident, yes. Because she falsely imprisoned somebody and lied to justify a forced psychological evaluation. That is antisocial behavior. That is criminal. And that is why the monster Cheril Hardy is in the Tyranny spotlight.